How many of you have some goals that you still want to achieve? I'm sitting here with Mario Pinardo, 40 years experience of professionally teaching people how to set and achieve goals. We'll be right back with the full story on how all this started. Welcome back. And you may have a goal, you may have a big goal. It's time to connect to those goals. I'm sitting here with Mario Pinardo, the founder of Achievement Dynamics Institute. Mario has 40 years experience with thousands of people, professionally teaching them how to set and achieve goals. If you're listening to this, I know you have some goals. Mario, I'm so glad that we finally had a chance to do this and to sit down and to dig into your story. Are you ready? This is
I'm ready.
a life's work of experience of working with people, thousands of people,
Yep.
having your own experience. And what I wanted to do, if you're brand new here, I want to give you some context. Are you willing to go back into your story? Like, can we go back through the annals of time here?
Oh, sure.
Because I always want to understand, like, where did this start and what really compelled you to do this for so long? So are you willing to go back and share with how this started for you? Like, what got you into goal setting?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was about wanting to have fun.
Wanting to have fun. Okay, there's a theme here. So
Yeah.
talk to me about that.
Well, when you're young, it's called having fun. As we become adults, we call it quality of life. But back when you're 13 years old, to me, quality of life was getting a dirt bike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you mean like a
Yeah, like a
motorcycle?
motorcycle, right? And,
Okay.
we had a family farm, and the dirt bike I wanted, I was 12, 13 years old, cost $429, and I looked it up. That's $3,300 in today's money.
Well,
And
say that again. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So the dirt bike was 429.
yeah, and I Googled it, and it's $3,300 in today's money. This was
Wow.
This was
Okay.
1969,
Okay.
and I made $12 a week as a paper boy. And so, of course, what do you do? Hey, Dad, can I have this dirt bike? All right. It was at the
Okay.
Yamaha place down the road. I was sitting on it. I wanted it. I had to have it. And he thought he had the best answer. And he really did. He said, if you want it that bad, buy it yourself. And I heard the word yes, because I was afraid I wasn't going to be allowed to have it. And I felt that I'm halfway there because I'm allowed to have it.
Interesting.
I just got to buy it myself. So it took me a year and a half, but I worked as hard as I could.
So you did this all through your paper route.
Oh no, are you kidding? No,
Okay.
I was coming up with money doing all kinds of stuff, from anything from gifts to whatever I could do to earn a few bucks here and there, and I just kept going, and
Was this your first goal that you?
yeah, this was the first serious goal. Like I was serious. I was getting this dirt bike,
I really commend you because a lot of times a young child hears that or a young person
Uh-huh.
and they just kind of forget it and they keep bugging mom or dad for it. But
Mhm.
you went the opposite. That's really
Oh, yeah,
unique.
well, it was something that I was just passionate about it. I just knew that I wanted this, that it was, put it this way, it was like a life goal. It was all encompassing. And you know what? My dad gave me the last $29 on my 14th birthday. I had 400. He could put it in the last 29 bucks, and we picked it up in my brother-in-law's VW bus.
Oh, I can
drove
only
it to the
imagine
farm.
that day.
And let me tell you, for the first night, I got a sleeping bag and I slept next to it. I was so happy. I was so happy.
So I want to kind of tease our audience here a little bit because I'm in my mind, I'm connecting the dirt bike to you flying an airplane before you drove a car. So I hope we can get to that in a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that comes next.
That comes next. So
Yeah.
you got this dirt bike, you set this goal.
Mhm.
You weren't thinking about goal setting at that point, probably. You were just like, I want to get this motorcycle, right?
I just knew that I had to figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
And
You
that's
did.
pretty much what goal setting is all about. It's figuring it out. It's problem solving. So I stumbled upon the the formula, I guess you could say, or the perspective. I just happened to stumble upon it, and it worked for me. And so now I'm riding this dirt bike, and I'm meeting these farm boys, and they have, because I hear a dirt bike in the distance, I go and we meet, and we go to their place, and they got horses. I'm thinking, I got a barn. It was a family farm, but I didn't live there. But my uncle had a barn. I'm thinking, I'm gonna get a horse.
Okay.
So next year, I went and got a horse. There was a horse in the barn that I could raise and ride.
And so you went and got a horse next.
Yeah.
You raised the money to get the horse?
Yeah, well, I was raising the money. We were going to Cowtown, and it was where you buy the horses and everything. And then one day, as I'm getting ready to make this happen, one day my uncle walks into the barn, and there's a colt on the underneath his farm horse. And here he had bought a farm horse there. He thought it was just fat, and it was pregnant. So I said, okay, that's my horse.
So what was the horse's name? Do you remember?
Nelly.
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 Oh, that's a
Right,
great
right.
name.
And you know something, when I teach people about goals, and it's important to keep track. Everyone should write down each area of their life and what have they accomplished in that area of their life. What are their achievements? But I always say write down achievements and blessings, because
Blessings. Okay.
some things happen and you really didn't work that hard for it. And some things you might have worked and worked and worked for it. So, but they're kind of mixed up somewhere. Like where is it my achievement? Where is it a blessing from God?
That's a
So
great point. And I also want to point out that, and I typed this in the comments, that you've curated this 40 years of knowledge and experience working with thousands of people into a source that we're going to talk about as we
Mhm.
get through this interview, where people can take advantage of everything that you've learned throughout the course of doing this. But I really like how you talked about blessings, because it's those things that we don't expect, maybe, right? That aren't on the radar, or we just feel abundantly blessed. Maybe we feel like we didn't deserve it. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, well, I don't want to say that you feel like you didn't deserve it, but you knew that it came really easy, and you have to recognize when God's winking.
Wow, that is a great point. How many times do we miss those moments? Have you missed those moments?
I try not to, but believe me, every day I kind of shake my head and say I can't count all the blessings. And again, that's all about having faith. Faith is a big part of it, because when you're really going after some big goals, you got to step out of your comfort zone. And so that people in history that have created big things have had big faith. And so meanwhile, to go back to the story, so now I got this horse, and now I'm creating campsites in the woods. In fact, my retreat center now is in those woods that I was creating campsites in
Wow.
when I was a
Okay,
kid.
so the same
'Cause I
area.
live on that farm now, and I have a retreat center. And so then down the road, there was a little grass airport. They call it a grass field airport. It's called Pittman Airport. And when I was
Okay.
a kid, my dad flew, and I knew that you could get your pilot's license at 16 years old, but I wasn't allowed to get my driver's permit until I was 17. So I couldn't miss the opportunity to get my pilot's
That
license
is,
before I had my driver's license. And so I would rent a 1947 J3 Cub for $10 an hour. It was seven for the instructor. In fact, the Cub, someone had to sit in it, and I had to crank the propeller to get it started. It didn't even have an electric start or a battery start.
I
You had to
remember.
like
Wow.
pump it and crank it. So anyway, I'm flying at 16. So by the time I was 16 years old, I was having a pretty good time. Like, the goal was to have fun, and you can't have
So
more fun
you
than
got a motorcycle, you got a horse, now you're flying an airplane before you
campsites.
drive a
I have,
car.
I have a
You got a
campsite.
campsite.
I have a campsite with my friends, and I got my pilot's license, and I'm like, life's pretty good. And then I got a girlfriend, and I was really happy.
Wow, you had the whole thing going. Now, I'm going to jump in here. I just kind of deviate, but how does that connect to today?
Uh-huh.
Like when you think about that, you're on the farm. Like,
Mhm.
do you kind of feel like a boy sometimes? Do you ever,
Oh,
do you
yeah,
ever feel like that? Like you're back having fun on the farm, and do
absolutely.
you have a dirt bike now?
No, no, I would like to get another street cycle, before well, I'm still physically able to have one, but I know I don't have a dirt bike now,
Okay.
because most of the farm now is all houses, and I got the last 2 acres. You can't go very far on 2 acres on a dirt bike,
Yeah.
so anyway, so then when I was 20 years old, I saw a commercial for the Big Brother organization, And I said, my dad was always good to me. He always took me places. I want to be a big brother for some little boy. So next thing I know, I have a little brother named Bobby. He's 10 years old, and he's my co-pilot. I'm taking him flying with me. And he ended up going into the Air Force for 25 years.
Mario, that's one of the things I admire about you every time you bring this story up, because I've heard part of the story before. But the fact that you went and became a big brother. So it's really important to note that, talking about blessings, you talked
Mhm.
about blessings. But I want to note that you, while you were achieving all these things, which is like personal acquisition, there was something in you where you felt altruistic, where you were like, I want to give back.
Mhm.
I want to reach out to a young boy or a child and let them have an experience. And then you did that, and then this person went into the Air Force. And didn't you have a recent experience? You connected with them, like, when say in the past couple years,
Oh
or
yeah, well, I've never really lost touch, but he lives in
yeah.
Colorado now. But but his mom, I still see his mom, and I have his second little brother who lives down the street. He was 7 when I met him. He's 35 now. He has a couple boys himself. But I can tell you what really was one of my motivators. I love to share my stuff. And so when I bought my motorcycle, it was like I couldn't wait for my friends to ride it. When I had my horse, I couldn't wait for my friends to come and hang out with the horse. So I always got joy out of sharing what I had. So flying, that I know. I couldn't wait to get my private license so I could take people for rides, So that was kind of like a motivator for me. I always wanted to have fun stuff that I could share with people. That was probably a big
So it
interest.
would have been good to be a friend of yours
Oh
back
yeah,
then, because
if you
you
were
would
my
have
friend.
taken advantage of all
Oh
the
yeah, if you
things
were
that
my
you had
friend.
going.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And when I bought a snowblower, I was asking all my neighbors and friends, "Hey, I got a snowblower. You can use it whenever you want."
Well, by
So,
the way, I want to echo that, because so many times you invited me over. You love sharing your property.
uh,
Hey, come out for a fire pit. Hey, come on,
yeah,
and all the work that you've done. It's just a
I
beautiful
enjoy
thing.
I
Yeah.
enjoy seeing people enjoy what I have.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah, so and then knowing about how to achieve goals. So meanwhile, getting back to the goal setting thing, and that is back then there weren't motivational speakers. There weren't, internet wasn't there. I
What
mean,
year are we talking here, so we can give people
well, you
perspective?
figure the motorcycle was in 71, and then the pilot's license was in 74, so, and I graduated high school in 75. So, that was, so those years there, but what I did was, um, I went to the library, and I'm not sure if I had an article before or I went to the library, but I got a list, and I still have the original list of 10 of the most famous self-help books to that point in time. Think and Grow Rich,
Ooh,
The Power of Your Subconscious Mind,
you
The
have all
Magic
of
of
them?
Belief. Oh yeah, I mean, I went and I bought every single one.
Well, I want to encourage people, and you, to put that list up on the website if it's not already there. I think that'd be great for people to see, like, what books did Mario read back
uh,
then. I
yeah.
think that'd be a great
Right,
list.
and see the ones I checked off, and so I wasn't an academic. In fact, part of the reason why um, uh, I teach this is because I went in. I go into my 11th grade counselor, right? And he goes, "What do you want to do when you get out of high school?" And I said, "Well, I think I want to be a pilot. I'm a pilot right now. I want to be a commercial pilot." Now, keep in mind that I was having so much fun outside of school that my goal in every class was to get a C. Was not do any more work than a C because I needed that extra time because I was having too much fun. All right. So, and so he goes and he sees all C's, and he says, "Oh, you can't be a pilot." I go, "Why not?" And he goes, "You don't have the math. You got to be really good in math to be a pilot." Okay, well, how about I want to be a veterinarian. I really love horses and I love my horse and I love animals. And he goes, "You can't be a veterinarian. You don't have the science, right?" And so he says, "Look, you're not college material." And he got me a job working at a caulking factory that I
Really?
left. I left school at 12 o'clock and I went and everybody walked around covered in caulk. And I made boxes. I wasn't covered in caulk, but they had 5-year pins and 10-year pins. And I'm thinking, is this what this guy thinks I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life? Working at a
Wow.
caulking factory?
That's a wake up.
Yeah. And so when I graduated high school, I said, what's the most fun career I could have? And I decided it would be a stand-up comedian. So I said, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. That sounds like a fun career, right? So, but you know what? I stuttered. So I had
Oh,
to.
wow. This is
So and at first, and in fact, they wouldn't let me on stage in Philadelphia. I was some young kid, and I was waiting all night to get on stage. And finally, the guy goes, you're not," he starts poking me in the chest. "You're not going to do any comedy here. Get out of here, kid." So I went back to Jersey, and I opened my own comedy club. I says, I'm not going to let him stop me. So I opened my own comedy club. It was called the Crazy Horse. It was the Crazy Horse Saloon was already there, and they had an open mic night on Monday with a Philadelphia disc jockey named Ken Garland. So I got the idea. I told the owner, I says, I can get you some comedians for Wednesday night if you want to give me Ken Garland as the MC. And he said, you got it. So next thing I knew, within 2 months, I had my own comedy club.
Oh, that's so great.
Now nobody could tell me I wasn't allowed to go on stage.
That's great. That's overcoming obstacles.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it
well,
sounds like you had just had a vigor for you were somebody who I think was blessed with a vigor to know what you want and to go after and not let anything stop you.
mhm.
I would love you to speak to that. What if somebody doesn't have that? What would you say to them?
Well, first, number one, and that is that you need to believe in your ability to solve problems. Because where you are now, wherever you are now to where you want to be, it's a matter of what problems you have to solve to get there. But you don't work on the problem, you work on the solution. So the problem was this guy in Philadelphia didn't like me, didn't like how old I was, didn't whatever it was but that was the problem. The solution was I'm gonna go get my own comedy club, so
Right,
so you have to
right.
keep thinking solutions. And the subconscious mind is a computer. And when you keep thinking and when you keep thinking of ideas or ways to solve something, I love the quote from Voltaire: no problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking. No problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking. So when you have that belief, it keeps you going. It keeps you going. And also you have to keep recommitting to your one commitment never does it. That it's we have to keep the commitment needs to become a habit. And on a personal basis, but I've always teamed people up as collaborators. So if I was working in a corporation, the executives would be collaborating if it was an executive program. The salespeople would be collaborating if it was. But when my individual clients, because I had about 2,000 individual clients and about 200 companies, and you know what? It was all within 40 miles of Cherry Hill. If if you didn't live or work 40 miles of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, you never heard of me until now, because I never went on the internet to teach.
Was before the internet. I mean, you're
Yeah, I mean,
talking before
oh,
technology
yeah,
that
but
we have now. So
so I kind of bloomed where I was planted, it was in my own backyard.
So that leads me into, we just talked about technology, but now you find yourself smack dab in the middle of a platform that you built.
Mhm.
And I mentioned it earlier, where you've curated all this experience and the things that you've learned and what you've taught,
Mhm.
the books you've read, not just the books you've read, we all read books, but the experience. That's what I really
Mhm.
want to drive home. There's not many people that have 40 years experience in goal setting. That puts
Mhm.
you in a unique
And that's
class.
just as Achievement Dynamics, but the
Right,
figure
not
started years before that.
right. So this has been
Mhm.
your life's mission is to,
Yeah.
and what this passion has led you to create a platform
Mhm.
that I would love for you to share about, because I think it's great to talk about your story, but I know people may want more. What do I do? How did Mario do that? What if I don't have the skill set? How do I do it? And that's what you've spent. Do you want to speak
Yeah.
to this, what you built, how long it
Yeah.
took you to put this
Well,
together?
and I was fortunate too that I married my wife, and my wife had her own program
That's
and
right.
in inner city Camden that she started in 1979, where the kids, they opened in 1980, and the kids, it was all for teenagers. They would come in off the streets, and she had a 90-minute platform where they would have a topic. And here was the key. This was something that was magical. She would have, she would teach them how to run their own breakout sessions. So when kids would come in, at first they were just so traumatized, they couldn't even look you in the eye and say their name.
They just look
Yeah.
down and,
And if they were in group, they would just have their head down. But she'd be patient with them.
this is inner city,
This is all inner city Camden, and
right?
it was sponsored by Our Lady of Lourdes Medical Center. And so, anyway, what was interesting is at a certain point when they would start to blossom, they would start to communicate, and some came in ready to go, but some really were damaged, and we had to really take our time with them. And then she would say to him one day, Jose, I've been watching you, and I'm a very good judge of character. And you're a born leader. And I need more leaders here at the bridge. And I'd like you to come back next week and help me run the program. And I'd like to teach you how to lead the small groups. Well, you know what? That would change that child's life forever, forever. And psychologists have an equation: event plus our perspective equals our reality. And when people say, "How do you change the world?" To be perfectly honest, every time we help someone, change their perspective about who they are and give them a more powerful perspective,
That,
you've permanently changed their world. And so,
yes.
you know, and also too, and they say that there's a part of the brain, the frontal cortex, and I've read in several books that it's the last part to mature, and it matures between 14 and 24, and that's where the critical thinking comes in. So it's very important that we get youth doing this, the problem solving, the critical thinking, the creative imagination during that window, because they say that after 24 it atrophies and it's that much harder to get that muscle going. And I look at goals as resistance training for our mental and emotional muscles. And that is that we need to stretch ourselves into the person that can achieve those goals. And what you're stretching is your imagination and creativity, your decision making ability. Sometimes it could be your time management. You're getting better at that. It could be well, your self esteem. You know, every
That's a
achievement
big
builds.
one. That's what I was, when I'm listening to you, I'm hearing that because that would speak to me because my perspective of myself was always
Uh-huh.
not good.
Hmm.
So that's the part that you just hit that. I think that's such an important
Sure.
piece.
Yeah. Well, you know, and someone once said, many people never find the door to success because the doorknob's on the inside. And so we really need to take our time and crystallize who we are. This is a big one too. Crystallized thinking, and that is a crystallized thought is a written thought. A thought in our head is in a fog. And how many times, sometimes a day, do we get a good idea and then we can't remember what the idea was? You know, so we can't rely on memory. And if we want to be creative, we have to write down everything that we think about that's important. Number two, a thought that is spoken, that's like this a glass of water that's spilled on a table, it just evaporates. But a thought that's written, they call it crystallized, because once you crystallize the thought, it's there, and you give it three dimensions, and it gives us the ability to add to our own thoughts. And the subconscious mind, at first we have to get it consciously on paper, and then the subconscious mind starts feeding on it and
Yes.
starts growing
Yes.
ideas around it.
Yes.
And every time you get an idea, you stick it back on there and it keeps getting bigger.
Getting better.
So that's the key, is crystallizing. If you ask most people, do you have dreams? Do you have goals? Do you have values? Do you have weaknesses? Do you have strengths? They would say yes, 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 yes. But if I said, okay, good, you know, and I've done this at many workshops, you know, everybody's raising their hand. Yep, got that, got that, got that. Okay, then who wants to come up right now? And you know, here we are, September. We're 9 months into the year. Just come up and share your top 5 goals for this year in their priority. What strengths do you have that are helping you achieve these goals? What weaknesses are you working on? And what values intrinsically motivate you to achieve these goals? But we're going to keep it real simple. Just the top 5 single most important things in your life right now that gives you a reason to get up every morning since January 1st. Go. Who's going to go first? Crickets,
Right.
right? Because they never took the time. All those things live in us. No one knows what you want better than you, and no one's going to be sorrier than you if you don't get it. And if you can't stand up and say what you want, you don't know what you want. You know, what teacher would have given us an A in a test if we couldn't write down the answers?
Mhm.
So if I would have handed out that, if I would have did it, if I would have given a handout 3 days prior and said, I'm going to be asking these questions, top 5 goals for the year in their priority. Yeah, you know what? Everyone would have come in with the answers. And so we need to crystallize our life in a personal, I call it the design and action planner. And the last final point I'll make with this, and that is, what is, and I ask people, here's a simple question that any fifth grader could answer. What is 467 plus 784? Go. And no one can do it on top of their head. I'm sure there are people that can, you know, but even if they visualize it, but you know what? We all agree that's a simple, basic arithmetic function to add two 3-digit numbers if we wrote it down. And we can't do it up here. But yet every day you see people in every area of our life. We have dreams and goals and values and priorities and strengths and weaknesses and what we want to achieve this month and this year, and you know what? And it's all in people's heads, and they wonder why that they're stuck and they're not breaking success barriers. You know, so we have to crystallize our thinking.
Yeah. So this is all great content. Please comment if you're on here and share this. I want to get two things as we
Mhm.
close up here. What obstacle did you overcome? that I know there's many. I know we all have many, but I was wanted to pinpoint one that that put you in this chair here today talking about it. Is there one obstacle that where you felt like, wow, you know, and then the second thing I want to close with is the platform that you I see it on your shirt there, Achievement Dynamics Institute,
Mhm.
that you've built. And so what obstacle or what challenge that really hit you where you thought, because I and the reason why I'm asking you this is because I know we're talking about the strategies for goal setting, but I also know that this can run deeper for people and what they have to overcome.
Uh-huh, sure. You know, well, I would say the biggest obstacle was when I started in 1985, no one knew this was a thing. Like, you know, to be honest with you, it was, I think I once looked it up. It was 6 years before Tony Robbins even wrote his first book. So there wasn't like you know, no one was beating the drum about learning how to achieve goals. And I opened up my company and I thought people were, you know, beat a path to my door. You know, it's like the secret of happiness, right?
Right.
It took me 2 months, and so I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and I stood up one day and I said, I help people set and achieve goals. And next thing I knew, business people said, I want that. And so before I knew it, by the end of that year, I had like 100 business clients, and by the end of the next year, I
Yeah.
was averaging over 200 workshops, 90-minute workshops. I used the format of my wife's program where it was a topic, breakout sessions, and I also built in to the program peer-to-peer collaboration, because you know the word coaching never even came into people's vocabulary until 25, 30 years later. Until I'd say 25 years later, it suddenly the word coaching was coming up. And at first it was only related to executives had psychologists as coaches, and then it kind of trickled down, you know.
Yeah.
So but in any case, the power of coaching is accountability. But I would build that into my system because at every workshop, I would have people be accountable to each other to take it for customize the material to them and then hold each other accountable to implementing the material. And I found that that created transformation.
So your obstacle was nobody knew you were a pioneer. Nobody knew
Oh, yeah.
about this. Now you anywhere you go, you hear goal setting, motivation. It's like all over the place if you're looking.
Here's a
But
funny, here's a funny side story. The yellow pages, you know, when you get your business phone, they say, oh, this guy's got a business phone. Knock, knock, knock. Here comes the yellow pages. We want to give you an ad. They had no place to put me. They had
there
to
was
come
no
up.
category.
There's no category. The yellow pages were all went with categories, and they had to come up with a category. And I told them what to put. Put down motivation and training. It's okay. So boom, the yellow pages now had motivation and training, and it had to be underneath.
And you're the only a category of one. That's
That was the
great.
only one.
So Mario, I want to bring this to a close,
Mhm.
but I want to let people know that you've developed a platform where
Mhm.
you've taken all this, you've taken the guesswork out. Because a lot of times I almost call it plug and play in that you don't have to sit down and figure out your own goal setting formula. Mario's done the work for you. So
Mhm.
would you want to speak about this and like how long it took you to develop this?
Well, you know, over the years, uh, by 91, I was coming up with step-by-step processes. You know, in the 80s, it was more like just dozens of workshops. I get, you know, what's another, every time someone had an obstacle that we would work together in overcoming, I created a workshop on it, you know, so we could duplicate it. And every workshop, people would share information, you know, and I kind of look at it like feeding the 5,000. As people ate, they put back into the basket, you know, and so the workshops became very robust. And then I started to realize that some workshops were about creating and some workshops were about doing and becoming. So I started to separate, and you know, the old it's been around for years, from Jesus to Gandhi. Wisdom is the balance between contemplation and action. So I divided the workshops into the ones that were,
Contemplation and action. I like that.
yep,
So wisdom is the balance between contemplation and action. I love that. And
yeah.
is that something you
Well,
curated?
yeah, well, it's something that I realized was a truth, about life. And I knew that, you know, people got stuck because some people would contemplate and not take action. And some people were just going and never breaking success barriers because they were just repeating the same patterns, just working harder, you know. And so and you need both. And so in my system, it was these 4 or 5 things is what you do for contemplation, and these 4 or 5 things are what you do for action. You put them both together, and you're on a journey that
Okay,
doesn't end.
so hold that thought. So I'm here with Mario Pinardo, Achievement Dynamics Institute. Mario has 40 years experience training thousands of people professionally on goal setting. and he's mastered it, and he's got a platform called Achievement Dynamics Institute. So he's sharing now about between contemplation and action is where you draw wisdom.
Mhm.
And you were just sharing, you have 4 or 5 things on each side.
Well, it became a flow chart,
Flow
you know,
chart,
and now we
okay.
call it the wheel of empowerment, you
The
know,
wheel of
and the wheel of empowerment is, it's like a clock with 12 stations, and the first 6 are contemplation, the next 6 are action, but it's the whole cycle of conception to achievement, and the wheel actually, in its metaphoric rise, it's really a spiral staircase, because you circle it, and every time you go back and reiterate, you go higher.
Oh,
you
I
know?
love that.
So, you know, how you hear people were spiraling out of control, or spiraling.
Yeah.
Here you spiral up, you know, and
That's great. So
Is
how
that-
can people connect with you?
well, you know, here's what I did, and that is that the old question, what keeps you up at night, right? Well, what was keeping me up at night is, as I approached 70 years old, I'm like, wow, you know, I spent years perfecting these workshops and come up with the system. What if something happened to me, I go in that box, and all my workshops, materials, handouts, everything is going in that box, you know? So I transferred my program to books and CDs into the internet. So now I have achievementdynamics.com. And so when people come on to Achievement Dynamics, I've created, we're opening up communities. So one community will be one of the things that I specialize in over the years, because my clients asked for it and needed it, was how to master new business development. It's called turbocharging your business leads.
Development.
Yeah, because if you don't know how to do that, you're going to be out of business, you know? So every Friday, I actually do a free 90-minute workshop in the morning. I do one in the morning and one in the afternoon, called Turbocharging Your Business Lead. So I offer that to whoever would like to attend.
That sounds great. So how can somebody get a hold of it? Turbocharge your business leads?
Turbocharging Your Business Leads. And
Turbocharging your business leads.
Yeah.
Now, how can somebody get that? What do they have to do to get in on that?
Well, first of all, if they email me, very easy to find, Mario@achievementdynamics.com.
Okay.
And I can send, and I'll put them on our mailing list for that, because with that, there's a community that.
And we'll put that in the comments on the platform, your email address.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. You know, and then also beyond that, though, we're doing personal empowerment community, family empowerment, youth empowerment. I've worked in over 20 school systems. I was teaching at Camden High the entire senior class goal setting in 1985. So, and being a big brother and being married to a woman that she's passionate about working with youth, that we have what's called Youth Achievia, and I'm bringing the platform to youth programs.
I love that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I know you and I've had some private conversations. And again, I appreciate your dedication
Mhm.
to the youth, because I cannot help but project myself as that youth that struggled, with self-esteem and always feeling like you're off. So bringing that through Youth Achievia
Mhm.
to these, I think there's going to be a lot of youth that are looking for
Well,
the right
yeah,
information and
and
wisdom. Yeah.
being connected with youth programs throughout our careers. I mean, together, Renee and I have 84 years of experience working with youth
Wow.
programs and with companies. And so the key is this, and that is that every youth program has genius in it, but not all of them know how to teach the youth how to set and achieve their goals. So the Youth Achievia, the membership money, you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
In 1985, I didn't know what to charge, so I charged $595 a year to be a member, and I had 5, 10 workshops a week, right? And you got the schedule, and you dropped in whenever you could, right? Well, I'm charging $595 a year to be a member of Achievement Dynamics, and at $595, you actually can learn how to facilitate the workshops, so you can become a leader.
That's a great point. So somebody could step into your community and be a leader.
Oh yeah, and I want them to be, because there's a section. Some people are for $395 they can come in and just be a student, in as many of the communities that they want. But for a couple $100 more, you're in the training where I'm teaching you how to facilitate these workshops, because I want you to be the leader in your community. I want the communities to be self-sustaining, and as people join, there's going to be the next generation of leaders and the next generation of leaders.
No, and I just want to point out that I love how you've created these sheets of categories that anybody can look at, and they can rate themselves and figure out what their gap is, and look. So it's very easy with your system to realize what area needs work. You don't have to go through all these complex blueprints. It's right there in a list.
Mhm.
You've made it really easy for people. So I definitely want to put your website, Achievement. You want to share that?
Yeah, well, achievementdynamics.com. And over the years, when I would go into a company, I had like maybe 2 or 3 meetings to get their attention. In other words, if this group wasn't successful, if they didn't see change and progress in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm talking about being there like 2 hours Monday, 3 weeks in a row. So I had to come up with a way that you got results like fast, because once they got results, then they were totally, then they were sold. They would take, I could take my time after that, right? So in any case, there is a way that you can set your goals up so you see results happening and you build your self-esteem and you build your confidence so you keep on going. But we all need collaboration, because I've always said personal empowerment is a team sport. You can only go so far by yourself, and
That is true.
I mean, there are unique
That is
circumstances.
true.
I think that my, frontal cortex was like overactive,
Yeah.
because
I would say.
but at the same, but most people do need, and I need a power partner too, because I need to make sure that I stay on the right track, that I don't get off on too many tangents, because I have so many things that I want to do. But so the point is this, and that is that we need each other to achieve our goals. Biblically, it says when two or more are gathered, that's when stuff happens, and so the idea of everyone's going to be able to learn a very easy to apply successful system, and they can do it without me, because I need to go into the sunset of my life. That I'm hoping that I'm as healthy as I am for another 20 years. But at the same time, you know, um, you know, in 1985, my mom called me one day, 60 years old, and she said, Mar, they tell me I have cancer. And 11 days later, on my 28th birthday, she died. And that's when I turned to my wife and I said, Renee, I said, we don't have any control over the quantity of our life, only the quality of our life. And quality of our life is controlled by our ability to create and capture opportunity in our life. And I want to teach people how to do that. And that's what
And
started.
you've dedicated your life to that 40
Yeah.
years.
Yes.
Mario, you're an inspiration, man.
So-
And I just want to, honor you for all the work you've done,
Thanks.
with Big Brother. And I know you've had your
Uh-huh.
ups and downs. We've
Uh-huh.
stayed connected.
Yeah.
As it would take how we met was synchronicity too,
Yeah.
through
Mhm.
various channels. So I just want to encourage you to go and check out Mario's website,
Shoot
achievementdynamics.com.
me an email, Mario at Achievement Dynamics. Oh, there you go. I'm talking.
Yeah.
Shoot me an email, Mario at achievementdynamics.com, and just let me know that you want to go on our mailing list, because
Yeah.
I'll be doing family empowerment workshops. And of course, I'm doing the turbocharging business leads workshops. And then there's a lot more to come. And I want to put people in communities where they can empower one another. Our slogan at Achievement Dynamics is feel the current, be a light, pass on the power. And that's where we internalize every time we help someone else, we're helping ourselves.
Yes.
It's even biblical. You can't water someone else without getting yourself wet. So we want people to be able to become more empowered because they're empowering the next person.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, you can't sprinkle perfume on yourself or on others without getting a few drops on yourself.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this has been fantastic to take this time.
Mhm.
This is the Austin James Haynes Show. I'm here at the Soundplex in
Mhm.
Pensacola, New Jersey. We had a special meeting here with Mario. We've been planning this for a while. He's
Mhm.
just got over 40 years of dedication to serving others with goal setting, and Renee as well. I just want to call out your wife, who's a
Mhm.
really passionate person who's also worked with youth. So I'm really grateful for this time with you. Is there anything you want to say as we close out here, the final words?
Well, only that life, believe me, when you get to be my age, you realize how short life is. But time is our most valuable asset. It really is. Because if you lose or waste your money, you can make that again. But our time that we want to take every day, and we want to try to make something good happen and keep piling up those good things. And it's amazing how, and also how can we help other people become more empowered? Because nothing's more pleasurable than to know that you made a positive impact in someone else's life. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard. It really isn't. It just takes a listening ear, and it takes helping people understand the depth of their own potential, which is, the human mind is God's greatest creation. And once we recognize that, we're off to the races.
Well said. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. And
Mhm.
just want to encourage you to subscribe to this platform wherever you're listening. My website's austinjhaynes.com. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube at Austin James Haynes. And you can also go to Mario's website, achievementdynamics.com.
Mhm.
And I know he's got things up there that you can take advantage of. And also the business leads. I just want to encourage people to go check that out. On the Fridays, you're doing
Yeah,
the business
it's
lead.
every Friday.
Yeah, every
Mhm.
Friday. So
Mhm.
send Mario an email, mario@achievementdynamics.com.
Yep.
Thank you so
Be
much,
happy to hear from you.
everybody.
That's great. Hey, God
Have a
bless.
great day.